Hey there! Did you know that the ancient world is full of awesome surprises? Let's check out some super cool facts about ancient wonders. The Great Pyramid of Giza used to sparkle. When the Great Pyramid was first built around 2560 BC, it wasn't the sandy stone color we see today. It was covered in polished white limestone called Tura limestone, which reflected the sunlight so brightly that travelers from miles away thought it glowed like a beacon. Over time, earthquakes loosened the shiny outer stones, and many were taken to build other structures. Imagine a giant shimmering triangle shining like a flashlight in the desert. Cleopatra lived closer to the moon landing than to the building of the pyramids. Most people think Cleopatra ruled during ancient pyramid times, but she actually lived around 30 BC. The pyramids were built over 2,500 years before that. In fact, the gap between Cleopatra and Neil Armstrong walking on the moon in 1969 is shorter than the gap between Cleopatra and the building of the pyramids. So Cleopatra is actually more modern than you might think. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon might not have been in Babylon. The Hanging Gardens were said to be a magical, towering garden with waterfalls, lush trees, and colorful flowers growing high above the ground, like a green mountain in the middle of the desert. Ancient writers described it as one of the most beautiful places on Earth. But here's the mystery. No one has ever found its remains in Babylon. Now, some historians believe it might not have been in Babylon at all, but in Nineveh, a completely different city. It's possible that the stories got mixed up over time. So the famous Hanging Gardens of Babylon might have been a case of historical mistaken identity, like saying the Eiffel Tower is in Rome. The Colossus of Rhodes was taller than a modern building. Built in ancient Greece on the island of Rhodes around 280 BC, the Colossus was a giant bronze statue of the sun god Helios. It stood over 30 meters, about 100 feet, tall. That's about as tall as a 10-story building. Sailors would see it from far away and know they were almost home. Sadly, it didn't last long. Just 54 years after it was built, a powerful earthquake hit, and the mighty statue came crashing down. People were so amazed by the fallen statue that even lying in ruins, it became a tourist attraction for centuries. Imagine a shiny superhero-sized statue standing guard by the sea until nature knocked it over. The Lighthouse of Alexandria used mirrors to shine light across the sea. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, also known as the Pharos, was built in Egypt over 2,000 years ago. Standing about 120 meters, 393 feet tall, it was one of the tallest buildings of the ancient world. During the day, giant bronze mirrors caught the sunlight and bounced it far across the sea. At night, a fire burned at the top, and the mirrors reflected that too. Sailors could spot the shining beacon from over 30 miles, 50 kilometers away. It was like a high-tech ancient flashlight helping ships find their way home long before GPS. Stonehenge is older than the pyramids. Most people think the pyramids are the oldest big structures in the world, but Stonehenge is even older. This mysterious circle of giant stones in England was started around 3000 BC, while the Great Pyramid of Giza wasn't finished until about 2560 BC. Some of the stones weigh up to 25 tons, and they were moved from over 150 miles away, without wheels or trucks. No one really knows how or why it was built, but some think it was used to track the sun and stars, or maybe for special ceremonies. Stonehenge is like a giant stone puzzle built by people who didn't even have metal tools. The statue of Zeus was too big to fit in your living room, or even your house. In ancient Olympia, Greece, there stood a huge statue of the god Zeus, made around 435 BC. He sat on a majestic throne inside a grand temple, and even sitting down, he was over 12 meters or 40 feet tall. The statue was made of ivory and gold, with decorations of precious stones, and Zeus held a shining scepter and a statue of Nike, the goddess of victory. It was so big, his head almost touched the ceiling of the temple. Imagine a golden giant sitting on a throne, too tall for even a mansion to hold. That was Zeus in all his glory.